Welcome to our Believe Draft Special. It is Believe in Chargers, and coming up with Aaron Coscarelli, Believe in Rams, as we get you ready for what should be an exciting first round. That's day 1 on Thursday. Day 2 will be rounds 2 and 3, and of course, rounds 4, 5, 6, 7 on Saturday. And with Lorenzo Neal, one of the all-time greats, a man who certainly experienced the draft and not have to wait too long to hear his name called. And that's what happens when you bust up a bunch of competition running for the Bulldogs and that giant green V of Fresno State. And you're an all-world wrestler with those powerful hands and those fingers. Lo, why don't we start there? The all-decade team with the Chargers, one of the great fullbacks in the history of this league. Share with us your draft story and what you remember most about that day.
Money, I would be honored. I'm going to take you on memory lane, Money. You're going to get some laughs, and you're going to feel bad for your boy. You usually say, Lo, you're tough, and you got. Let me tell you my draft story. So I'm at Fresno State. Football season, we play in the Freedom Bowl. We beat USC. So football season drags on, January, and so wrestling season starts in August. So I did both sports. My senior year, I was like, God, coach wanted me to wrestle. So combines come up. I jump on. So I'm wrestling against Oklahoma. This guy I'm going to wrestle against Oklahoma State. He's number 2 in the country. His name is Kurt Mammon. This is my senior. I beat Kurt Mammon in Fresno. I win the match, but I'm dying. I'm on the mat. My wrestling coach, I have to catch a 5 o'clock flight. So he talks me into wrestling before I head to the combine, Matt. And so I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm young, dumb, and full of the devil. And I'm like, I'm doing this. I beat the guy. I land on the mat. He said, come on, we got to get you to the airport. This is a meet on Saturday. I go to the airport, flying out of Fresno. How about this, Matt? The plane's delayed. They canceled the flight. So I don't get into friggin' Indianapolis till like 6 o'clock the next morning on Sunday. Friggin', I'm tired. I was doing 225, 38, 40 times bench press. Right. I mean, I'm a man. I'm running 4.5, 4.57. Not bad for a fullback. Run for 9,000 yards at Fresno State. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go bust this thing up. I get in, friggin' 6 o'clock in the morning, lay down for 2 hours, friggin' can't sleep because I'm exhausted, traveling the plane. I run a 4.7.
Oh.
Yeah, I think, I do 225 27 times when I'm doing it 40 times, 38 times. I fly back in. Dennis DeLito, great guy, still alive today. He's my wrestling coach. He's at the airport to pick me up. I walk right by him. I give him, I'm a Christian guy. Don't really. Right. I think I gave him the bird. I think I gave him my. I'm like, you know how much money you lost me.
Right.
And I didn't even talk to him. I walk in, go get in some other car. I had someone else pick me up. He's calling me every day. I'm just so ticked. Then fast forward, draft comes, man.
Now, what about pro day? You didn't have a pro day. You couldn't go to another pro day where you could improve on those numbers and try to get that thing all squared away.
I did. I had some pro dates and I got it squared away. Ran a 4.58, so ran a better time.
Okay.
Get to 225 for Kansas City. 38 times. The Chiefs came in. The Kansas City Chiefs come in. They're like, man, God, glad you had a bad combine. We like you. We love you. So draft day, I'm in Lemoore. My mom and dad's house. It's Sunday. I'm not going to church. I'm just sitting by the phone. No one calls. I'm like, all right. Boom, the phone rings. Kansas City Chief. God, I forget the GM's name. He was there for years. And Marty Schottenheimer's coach and he was there years. And he's like, yeah, Lorenzo, just want you to know we're going to 66 for second round. If you're there, we're going to take you.
There we go.
Okay. I said, I'll be ready. I said, thank you so much. So, Money, I'm waiting, seeing the first round go, thinking maybe I may sneak in there. Boom, boom. Second round, I'm like, okay. I see Rosie pop. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going to get in here. Second round. Maybe before Kansas City, because I'm already set on Kansas City. It's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, that's the floor. You're good. 66.
Yeah. I'm like, second round, I'm going. Kansas City's getting ready to get on the clock. I'm like, all right, I'm going here. I go. I'm going to be a Chief. Phone doesn't ring. I look on the TV. What's going on? Kansas City Chiefs take Will Shields.
Oh, well, wasn't a bad selection. No, it was all right.
Wasn't a bad selection. So I'm like, okay, who's going to get me? So at least the first day, you had the first 4 rounds, I think, first 7 or whatever. So I go 84th pick. I go to the Saints, but I was mad as hell. I'm thinking I'm going second round. My whole combines were screwed up. So I dropped. So, but 17 years later, a lot of those guys that were picked in front of me, it just made me play with such a vigor. Yeah. And I think that's what the draft A lot of guys are going to be disappointed, a la Tom Brady. So many guys were so disappointed in where they were drafted and where they were selected that they went on to be all pros, Hall of Famers, because of the fact you can't measure a man by 40s, by speed. All it's about the heart and his desire. If you have the athletic ability, just somewhat, if you have the heart and desire, it's amazing what you could do. So that's my combine story.
There we go. It's interesting because I think today, because we have so much more information, like that would almost be celebrated. Like, hey man, this is a dude that went out and was throwing guys around on a mat 18 hours ago,
Right.
and won an NCAA championship, or advanced to the champ, whatever that
Right.
match was for.
Right.
Yeah, that's our guy, man. That's our dude. It may have cost him some money, and because now word travels and it's just a little bit more,
Sure.
well respected. So here we are. We're at the 2024 draft, and the Chargers have an incredibly high pick, their highest pick since they took Justin Herbert at number 6 overall. They don't want to be back here anytime soon. They're going to get their hands on an elite player. Fans are freaking out because of all the stuff that Jim Harbaugh has been talking about: offensive line, what group doesn't need help from anyone else but helps everybody? Offensive line, Andy Bischoff. This is an O-line centric place. This is where O-linemen are going to come. There's so many people pointing out about how they are building this team, how they want to play football, and projecting offensive line. There's teams that want to come up to get a quarterback or maybe a wide receiver, especially after all these contracts were just handed out, to Devontae Smith for $23 million. CeeDee Lamb is at the time that we're recording this, and Justin Jefferson are talking about contracts north of $30 million per year. So you've got 2 premium positions that are going to be available at pick number 5 and likely going to draw the interest of a lot of teams that would love to trade up and give the Chargers more capital to repopulate this roster. And that's something they're going to have to think long and hard about, Lorenzo, and that's stick and pick to take an elite, a super elite blue chip gold star player that someone's going to be pounding the table for, if not more than one person, or do they take the draft capital and trade back and try to fill multiple positions on this team after a bit of a purge this offseason with so many Brandon Staley type players making their way out as they try to bring in Jim Harbaugh players? What do you think? Let's say there's a package out there that they're comfortable with and they're saying, okay, this is more draft capital than we should get according to the chart, but we also like this player a
Yeah.
lot. What do you think you would do? You want the capital or you want the player?
Yeah, for me, man, you look at this and you think about Jim Harbaugh and you think about, look at the way that he's thinking. You hear his media presser. It's about, hey, the offensive line. It's about the trenches, and we're going to be tough and we're going to be physical. The strength coach talking about working his neck and your toes and working your fingers and going in the sand, Mr. Miyagi, and reach all the things that you're hearing saying this is going to be a line, offensive line or defensive line, somewhere in the trenches. I think just because they say that, I think they're trying to throw people off the scent. Because when you think about the receivers that left the building, you look at Keenan. Keenan was that position receiver. You can line him up anywhere, and he was a possession. You knew on third down, Keenan knew how to sit. He knew where to find those empty holes. He knew the space. Him and Justin was on the same page. When you lose a guy of that caliber who's a chain mover, who understands the nuances of the game and what they're doing and can read coverage on the way out if they try to disguise something and knowing what window to slide into, that's why I'm thinking I'm going to go with Marvin Harris Jr. at number 5 when they're there, because of the fact, here's a guy that's got good bloodline. Here's a guy that you know that knows football, can easily slide in that role. If Herbert has a guy like that can move the chains, not only can move the chains, that can stretch the field, but do so many other things, and he's a great route runner and he's ready to go now, I'll go ahead and stick and stay and take Drew.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would be upset with that. You're talking about a wide receiver that, according to a lot of people that have been doing this for a long time, is the best wide receiver prospect they've seen in a decade. And when you're talking about the CeeDee Lambs, the Jamar Chases, that level of player, and that this guy is above all of them, especially if you just talk about the guys that have come out of Ohio State, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, like that this is the guy. I don't think there's any question that fans would be over the top if, in fact, that's how it played out. So for me, I'll lay it out like this. I would like to get the draft capital because I think you can move up and down this board, much like the Arizona Cardinals did last year when they traded out of 3 and then jumped back up to 6 and picked up extra capital along the way, still got the offensive lineman that they wanted, and they probably would have picked at 3 had they stayed there. I think there's an opportunity for the Chargers to do that, to trade back, then to trade back up, still get one of the 3 wide receivers, Odunze, Neighbors, or Malik Harrison. And this is all predicated, I think, Marvin Harrison, this is all predicated on the Arizona Cardinals sticking and picking and taking your guy. Them just saying, we don't want to mess with this. We got 7 picks in the top 100. We're staying and we're taking the not seen in a decade level prospect to pair with our quarterback that we believe in, and we'll fill in all those other holes with the extra 1, the extra 2, the 2 extra 3s that we got. And that's where I think it gets interesting, because they can then get the haul for the quarterback. They can get the 2 1s this year and an extra pick next year. And then you can jump, if it's Minnesota, from 11 to 7 with the Titans and trade a 2 next year or something like that. Then you can trade out of 23 to a team that wants one of those tackles after the run is about to be concluded and pick up their 2 and their 3. That to me is how I see the best opportunity that it will be presented to them. I think there's a chance for them to get more draft picks while still getting their guy. And I think I'll probably throw out 4 or 5 names, depending on which. If they stay at 5, to me, it's one of those 3 receivers. It's whichever one is there and they like best. If they slide back to 11, it's one of the tackles, is what I would guess. Is Joe Alt there? Is Talise Fuaga there from Oregon State? Is J.C. Latham there from Alabama? It's one of those guys. And if they jump back up, if they go to 11 and get back to 7 with the Titans or 8 with the Falcons, because they're probably still going to be able to get a guy that they really like a lot at 11 and pick up some extra capital, then I think Rome Odunze comes into that conversation. Now, if you're just putting the screws to me here, Lo, and asking me which guy I like best, I like Rome Odunze. That's my guy. But I'm a West Coast guy. I'm a Pac-12 guy. Yeah. I love what he did at Washington. I got to see a ton. He's a Bishop Gorman kid from Vegas. Right. I'm all about him. So stick and pick. That's where I'm going. One of those receivers, whichever one is there. If Marvin Harrison Jr. is gone, I'm going Rome Odunze over Neighbors. If they move around, it's probably one of the tackles. And I would love to see him do it.
And if they move around, let's just real quick. If they move around to 11 and one of those receivers is still there, you think at 11 they'll still take a tackle? Okay, they'll take the receiver.
They'll take the receiver. I just don't think they'll last. I think those 3 receivers, I think, are off the board by 9 with the Bears. At number 9, I think you see what the Bears have done. I can't imagine the Bears not taking Odunze to pair with Caleb Williams for the next 10 years together, or Neighbors if he slides there. So that's what we got. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be cut and dry. To me, there's going to be a lot of movement, maybe as soon as number 3 with the Patriots, maybe at 4, and maybe the Chargers get the benefit. But can't wait to see how it plays out. And, of course, we'll be right back here on Believe in Chargers to react after it all happens.
I can't wait.